Hi, I'm Nir.
And I'm Adam, and we're your tour guides
To the modern history of Sudan.
Anglo-Egyptian Sudan, or as it is known as today, as Sudan and South Sudan, first became a colony in 1899. The ruling country was the European power of Great Britain.
After the Suez Canal opened in 1869, northeastern Africa became much more accessible because it connected the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. This enabled Europeans to travel from their country through the canal instead of sailing around the tip of Africa. Another reason for imperialism was newly discovered oil reserves of Sudan. Since oil is a valuable resource, Britain would have liked to seize and use the reserves.
When Great Britain took over Sudan in 1899, they forcibly separated the North and South Sudan. They purposely developed and invested in the northern region and only sent missionaries to praise Christianity to the southern region. Britain allowed the northern region to become modernized, as well as receive modernized European education. Britain did not allow the South to become modernized. They did this by giving power to the tribal leaders of the South, which prevented any tribal members from receiving a modernized European education. This was because the South had block tribes, such as the Dinka, Nuer, and Azande, and the North had Islamic tribes, such as the Beja, Nubian, and Tama, which were lighter skinned. The blacks were treated horribly. For example, if a slave committed an act of disrespect to his master, the slave owner would tie a rope to the slave's earlobe, and the other end would be tied to the saddle of a horse. Then, the master would strike the horse, and it would run away, causing extreme pain to the slave and possible removal of the earlobe.
After World War I, the British saw the growing population of Sudanese nationals. In many cases around the world, independence was gained through violence. In order to avoid the bloodshed, Britain granted Sudan a government partially ruled by Britain and partially by the Sudanese people. This continued for 3 years until Britain granted independence to Sudan in 1956.
Immediately after gaining independence, the North tried to control the Sudanese economy and government. But instead, the southern region resisted northern rule and rebelled in a 16-year civil war.
In the Darfur region of Sudan, which is a region in the west of Sudan that contained Arabic people in the north and south and African blacks in the middle of these two regions. There were droughts and desertification that caused the northern Arabs to move south and invade the land of the blacks. This caused conflict and the rise of two rebel groups, the Sudan Liberation Army and the Justice and Equality Movement. In 2003, the Sudanese government sponsored an Arabic militia called the Janjaweed. The Janjaweed terrorized all three tribes of central Darfur, the Fur, Zagawa, and Maslali. In addition, the Janjaweed eliminated the rebel movements. The Janjaweed destroyed over 400 villages, killed 400,000 people, and displaced 2.5 million people. In 2011, a vote was held in South Sudan to decide if South Sudan would become independent. 99% of the southern part of Sudan voted to secede. 58% of the northern population voted to secede. In July of 2011, South Sudan officially became its own independent nation.
Here is some recently discovered footage of the Janjaweed Terror.
Your discretion is advised.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy the tour.
Here's a word search for fun on your way out.